to make Colleen the host so that she can share her slides with you and get this going. So it's all yours.
Great. Okay, you can see that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody. Thanks so much, Elizabeth. Molly and I are very excited to be back here again today. So as she said, this was our third piece in a series that we were doing about behavior, social emotional things. We were really excited to kind of dive into this stuff. Today's title was How to Help Your Child Understand and Label Emotions. I'm Colleen Penzone, and we've got Molly Weber here.
Hey everybody.
Go ahead.
No, my name is Molly Weber. I work right under Colleen for the early intervention department over at NAIU 19.
Yeah, and both of us work there at the early intervention, and we're excited to partner with Wellkind. We do a lot of partnering with different programs, Head Starts, mostly. So we're excited to do this just to support our communities and our families within the community. So this is just a little slide to show you the different titles that we had. We did Understanding ABCs of Behavior. We did one about how to use positive language to improve your child's behavior. Today, we're talking about understanding and labeling emotions. And then, like Elizabeth said, we have the one in January that's specifically about understanding early intervention services. And they were all at 67. And I think hopefully that was a good time. We'll have to play around with what families feel are a good time. So we do want to know really quickly who's here with us. So we're going to put this link in the chat box for you. I think it looks like Molly already did it. So it's just a Google link with like 3 or 4 questions that basically asks, if you are a Wellkind parent. And the reason why we're asking that is because we did put it out to other families as well. So there may be families that attend a different program. So we were just double checking to see like where the audience got from. Maybe you saw it on social media, or maybe you got it right from your child's teacher. So if you don't mind filling that out really quickly, just so we can kind of guide where we were advertising and how that came about. And then I put this little Muppet show in there because that's what it looks like. We're on Zoom sometimes. That's what it feels like.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah. We're off our game tonight.
No, that's okay.
So Colleen kind of said a little introduction. I'm going to talk a little bit about where all of our resources come from. So this training series, we took a lot of our resources right from NCPMI, which is the pyramid model for children that are having behavioral, emotional. It's a great resource and a great organization that we do get a lot of our resources for, in particular for behaviors in early intervention as well. We also have a backpack series connection that comes from the pyramid model, and we'll give you that link to the website after this. So the backpack connection series is a great one-pager quick read for a plethora of tons of different things that you might be struggling with, or maybe your child is struggling with. So if you have a child that may be struggling with biting or struggling with bedtime routines, or a lot of things that happen in the home and things that you guys as parents deal with that we might not see in the school setting. So the Backpack Connection series is where this in particular training came from, the comments that we have. And then Ideas That Work, Office of Special Education Programs. So that is OSEP, and that is where early intervention lies, where we deliver our services. Is there anything else you want? Let me put challenging behaviors in there, just so you guys have it. Copy. There we go. All right. I'm going to put a bunch in the chat, and then we'll also be sending this to Liz after we're done, so that all of these links will be made available to you, and you could read this, watch this recording at a different time, or kind of go through all of the resources we're going to talk about tonight. So tonight we are talking about emotions, how to help your child understand what the emotion is. So little children sometimes have big emotions, whether it be very, very happy and excited, very, very sad, maybe very mad, frustrated. So little kids sometimes have big emotions. So what we're talking about tonight is the ability to identify, understand, and respond to emotions in oneself and others in a healthy way. So that's a very high level skill. And we as adults, and I could speak for my husband, sometimes we struggle with this as well. We might be feeling very frustrated, but we don't know what to do with that, in the moment. So when we're talking about our, 3 to 5 year olds, we're looking at them being able to identify what emotion it is that they're feeling, but understanding what to do with that emotion. So if we have, Sally, who whenever she gets really, really mad, she might just start screaming and slamming a door. So she might not know what to do or what that feeling is. So emotional literacy encompasses all of that. Is there anything else you want? I'll have you could add anything in, Colleen.
No, I think that's good.
Perfect. So emotional literacy, you can help your child expand their emotional vocabulary by teaching them words for different feelings. And that sometimes seems a little redundant to us as adults. So if someone's sad, they're probably crying, but if your child's sad, they might not know what that word is. They're crying, they feel upset. We have to be able to tell them, oh, you're feeling sad, so that they understand what sad is, what comes with that feeling. But then the most important part is what to do with that feeling. Once they understand these words, you can help them to label their own feelings and the feelings of others. So in a little bit, we're going to get into some things that you could model for your kids. And modeling is just showing them how to do it. Or, I always say modeling, when we're talking about assistive technology and communication, modeling is just showing them every single thing that you're doing in that moment in time. So if you're out at the grocery store and there is another child who's maybe upset, you can say, oh, it looks like he's a little upset. It looks like he's mad. What do we do when we're mad? And if we talked about what we're doing after that emotion, that's where you can reiterate what we do when we're upset, what we do if we're happy. How does it feel to be sad? I'm trying to think what else can we do instead of maybe the behaviors that we're seeing, such as slamming the door, screaming. Maybe your child doesn't want what you're having for dinner and they're frustrated or they're upset. So maybe they could ask for something else or take a break until they're ready to eat instead of taking, dinner and maybe swiping it on the floor. So these are all kind of examples we're going to talk through. And then some different things that you could try at home, but also what we're working on in schools. So in preschools, in daycares, definitely in early intervention. This is kind of our everyday of what we're helping our kids to understand what the emotions are and then what to do with that emotion. You can go to the next one.
And just to add on that, I think that a great way to assess where your child might be is just to simply say to them, how do you feel about that in a situation? How do you feel? How does that make you feel? And if they can't answer it, so they might say, I don't know. And maybe it's something that they could feel happy about. And you're going to go somewhere that's really exciting. And they might say, I don't know. And then you'll kind of know, like, okay, they just don't know how to label that emotion. So that's how you can kind of assess, like, what they do know versus what they don't know. And then you can start to understand, like, I need to start labeling these things for them. And one of the really important parts of this and why it's very important is, especially as they grow, when you're at this stage, a preschool stage, you want to start to understand happy, sad, mad, angry, right? All of those things that are prerequisites to some of the more difficult things. When you think about, as children get older, some of the things that they need to learn as the emotions get bigger, like frustrated and some of those things that a teenager might experience that they don't know how to express. So if we start at a very young age by labeling emotions and understanding them, when they're older, they're going to build upon that vocabulary and then start to be able to express themselves. So it's definitely a lifelong learning that you want to keep doing this. It isn't just, the preschool level.
Right. Colleen just said, we want to try to label it. So if your child is having an emotion, whether it be happy, whether it be sad, maybe they are looking a little frustrated. We want to label it. Oh, you look sad and disappointed. Now, like Colleen said, you kind of want to see where your child is at. So if you don't believe that they might not understand what disappointed is, then we can start at sad. But then we're working disappointed in, oh, you seem disappointed that I wouldn't give you McDonald's tonight. You have to eat your vegetables, or whatever that example may be. Another example, sometimes I feel that way too. I wonder what we can do to feel better. So we're giving them the vocabulary to use if they're getting frustrated and they're clenching their fist or they're yelling high. So we're telling them, oh, you seem like you're frustrated. I feel that way too. I wonder what we can do when we're frustrated. So we're actually kind of giving them the answer on what they can do to model it, but then also labeling it for them, such as mad, sad, happy, whatever their level is at. We have an entire list of almost every emotion you could think of. And some, even in our classrooms, we do see a lot of the I'm happy, I'm sad, or I think it's happy, sad, mad, and content. Maybe there's 4 of them that they truly concentrate on. And then I always say, oh, don't forget, throw in frustrated, give them that vocabulary so they're hearing it repeatedly, but then also understanding what the emotion means to the action that they're feeling or doing. And teaching your child about their emotions can be a fun and rewarding experience for sure, and prevent challenging behaviors from occurring in the first place. So instead of the dinner being swiped off the table, they might be able to then say, I'm feeling very frustrated that I can't have chocolate milk because there was no chocolate syrup. I love when I'm pulling things right from my head, they just go a little crazy on the examples there. But I'm sure we've all had something familiar and something close to that kind of experience where, they just don't know what the feeling is. They know they're mad, probably because they've talked about being mad, every morning in preschool during circle time. Usually I've seen a lot of places where it says, hey, are you happy or sad today? Are you happy or mad today? So they know that word, but then maybe we're saying at home, oh, well, you seem like you're mad because you can't have chocolate milk tonight. Okay, I understand that. I get mad too, especially when we're out of chocolate syrup. Maybe would you want to try strawberry milk, or would you want to try water, XYZ, whatever that possibility can be after. So that's the important piece, is I'm telling you, yeah, you do seem frustrated. I'm also validating the fact that me as parent, as mom, as teacher, I can feel frustrated too, and that's okay. And here's what we can do instead of swiping dinner off the floor. Here's what we can do about it. And then, ideally our goal is they're able to then regulate, but then use that in many settings. So whether it's at school, whether it's at home, whether it's in the grocery store, at grandma's, anywhere that your child is, they'd be able to know, I know what it means to feel frustrated, and this is what I can do, after to hopefully feel better.
Yeah. And even just like Molly was explaining, like labeling your own emotions and doing that process with while you're doing things is really going to help too. So it might be, not just their example, what they're doing, but like as you're experiencing your own, saying, that makes me so frustrated, or, as you're experiencing those things. So that you're also labeling it and showing them what it looks like by saying, because we get aggravated, we have big emotions too. So we're frustrated that something fell and broke and you want to yell or something, but you'd be like, that made me so upset. Or, I'm so frustrated that I can't understand this, or you're trying to get through to somebody on the phone and you can't when y'all keep getting an automated thing, right? Something happens that makes you upset, and so to be able to express that, then they start to explain, oh, that's what mommy's experiencing, or whoever's experiencing. They connect those things. So labeling your own is also very important.
So in every training series that we've had so far, we always have our 1, 2, 3, and 4. And these are kind of those big ideas that we're talking about that are the easiest things to try at home. These are things you could try, tonight with the bedtime routine, or tomorrow morning getting up, coming home from school, however it may be. These are those quick and easy things that the littlest bit can truly go a long way and build that for your child. So our first one, simply state how your child is feeling. So you look really excited. I see your eyes are big and your mouth is open. So that truly is us explaining what we're seeing, but also letting the child know, oh, this is what excited means. So any person, if they're very excited, I could take my glasses off, their eyes get wide, their eyebrows go up, their mouth might be open. That is a typical excited expression. So we're letting our child know, hey, you're really excited about this. That's great. That's a good feeling to have, isn't it? So then number 2 here, state how others are feeling. And Colleen mentioned this too. Wow, that little boy is really mad. I see he is crying and making fists with his hands. I wonder why. Have that communication, have that dialect, to see. And that's also a good way to kind of see where your child is at with understanding. So if they don't really know why the other child is mad, okay, well then us as the adult can say, all right, so next time we're mad, this is what we'll talk about. Next time, I'm feeling upset, I'll make sure to say, ooh, this makes me so upset. This makes me mad. So having those conversations while you're out in the communities, that's really good for them to see as well. Number 3, state how you are feeling. So as the adult, I'm really frustrated that the lawnmower is broken. I think I'm going to take a break and come up with some solutions to this problem. Now, we know that sometimes as adults, some things really frustrate us, and certain words may come out or reactions that we wouldn't want our children to see, but it's really being conscious of, ooh, that makes me really mad. This might be a good day, or this might be a good thing to show my child to say, hey, I can get mad. I'm mad too about this. This makes me upset. This is what it looks like. And lastly, number 4, use books as teaching tools. So I have the link here. Yep.
So,
I have in the chat. This is a fantastic link here. Let me copy it. This is a list of all children's books from the organization that we're pulling all of these resources from. These are all of the books that strictly deal with emotions. So can you make a happy face? Families, hair love. I mean, some of them are interesting. The Little Fox Has Feelings. So these are all specifically talking about different feelings that you can talk about. So The Colors of Us, When We Are Kind. When Colleen and I do this training out in local preschools and daycares, we bring a couple of the books that we have, and there are some really fantastic ones out there that you might not know how to talk about sadness. You might not know how to explain what it means to feel sad, or maybe you've just had a loss in your family. How can I talk about this with my child? Using children's books is a fantastic resource to start having those conversations and to open your child to those words and to understand of what that emotion feels.
Okay. You want me to do this?
Is this you? Yes, this is you. Okay.
So Molly did some things we can do to practice at home, and some of the things we can do to practice at school are really talking with your child's teacher to see how they are teaching their child about emotions at school. So you want to make those homeschool connections. So ask them what they're using. What kind of pictures are they using? What kind of books are they using? So maybe you can also use the same language, talk about the same types of things at home to make those connections. Many emotions are seen and experienced at school. So with adults' help, children are taught how emotions look and feel on their body. So like Molly was describing those, saying with the big eyes, that shows, you're surprised, or the angry, boy, he was upset, he was clenching his fist. So that's how they're describing those emotions. But if you know those things and how they're being described at school, you can use the same kind of language and same kind of things at home, so that you're all practicing the same language. And again, using those books that we just, talked about, if there's any great ones that they're using at school, if you had them, and you're just kind of reinforcing those kinds of things. So even though that list, that we shared in the Google or in the chat box, there's so much more. That's just one list, like you can Google, you can look in the stores, there's tons. Here's some other books that we were, some of these might be on the list, but I have tons that are old, like my son is 22 and I have books that from when he was young that I still think are amazing. Like they just go over some great like books, great pictures and things about feelings. So through these books and like Molly was describing, real experiences, teachers can show and you at home can show that when a child looks sad because he's crying or mad because his fists are tight, and children begin to recognize what those emotions look like, and they begin to manage their own emotions and they can show empathy. So here's another couple of books that are examples. One of the big things that we know about emotions and about labeling and talking about emotions is when to talk about them, right? So this is just a little visual that kind of talks about when is a good time to teach about emotions. So this little hill, it looks like, but it really references the spike or the movement of behavior. So it's kind of like a meltdown, right? So in the green arrow here, it kind of says that's a good time to teach. That's when a child is calm, everything's going okay, and there's no, frustration showing or there's no behavior happening. So that's a good time to read the books, talk about emotions, point things out. Let's talk through some of those things. And then in the blue, where a child might be getting a little upset, that's a good time, not necessarily to teach, but remind. So even though we kind of talked about like when you get upset, like here's some of the options that you can do. We do that in the teachable moment when everybody's calm, but as you see the children getting visibly upset, so maybe they're clenching their fists, maybe they, sometimes you hear children start grunting or making sounds. That is a sign, right, that they're getting a little frustrated, and they may not know how to express it. So they just start growling or grunting. A lot of preschoolers do that, right? That is where we might want to remind them, of like, hey, remember we talked about what it's like to be frustrated. Remember we talked about that. And they might go back to that teaching moment and think about, oh yeah, and then I know what that means and what I can do. The worst time to talk about this stuff is when they're in full-out meltdown. So that's where that arrow at the top is. So when they're spiking in behavior and they're like swiping the tables because they are so mad and they're throwing things, that is not the time to say, I want to talk to you about what you're feeling. Tell me what you're feeling. Because at that point, they're not thinking and they're not hearing and they're not listening. So it's really, we want to talk about these things when they're listening and when they can really kind of comprehend that stuff. And it isn't when they're in full on like meltdown. So you just have to start to recognize those things and think about the good moments when it's time to do those things. So this little visual kind of tells us when not to do it and when to do it. And then of course, when everything's calm after everything is a good time to practice it again. So always in the calm, never in the heat of the fire.
And it's okay to after your child, the meltdown is done. When it's done, when your child is calm, and wouldn't become re-escalated very quickly. So at that moment, once you know that they're calm, it's okay, to say, hey, I know you got really, really mad when XYZ didn't happen. We can try this instead. Or let's try something else. When we're like that, let's go over and hold our favorite pillow. Whatever it is that might calm the child quickly from that meltdown, it's okay to then talk about it after. I wouldn't talk about it unless you know for sure that that the conversation isn't going to re-escalate the child, because we don't want our kids in meltdown mode. It's taxing on them, it's taxing on everyone involved, and truly we just need them to understand what that emotion is and what they can do with that emotion. So it's okay to talk about what just happened, but just make sure that they are calm and you know that they're calm, so you don't have a re-escalation.
Yeah, and that's a good point, Molly, because really it's a good practice for us to do that with ourselves too.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're upset or have a moment, we're human, right? So our children experience that with us. They see us get upset as adults. And it could be about anything. Like I said, I got upset the other day because I was trying to get through, to an insurance, and like, you're on the phone and you can't get through, and they're saying dial 6 or press 6, and you press 6 and you're on something else. And then like, it's so frustrating because you can't get a human being on the phone. So, and then you start getting heated, and then you're like, sometimes you might yell or pound your fist or whatever it is. So the kids do experience us getting upset. So it's a good practice for us to do the same thing. So once we're calm, it would be great for us to say, I was really upset before. Boy, I yelled and I must have been really mad. I was so mad because X, Y, and Z. So for us to verbalize what Molly just explained to you doing with a child, now they're going to start to see that that is a good practice in itself to come back to the table and say, what happened and what can we do next time? So it's not just them, it's really for us to do, and also for them to say like, oh, okay, like it's okay to do that. It's okay to sometimes get upset, but here's how we're going to look at it, and here's what we're going to do the next time. And then we did talk about this, but remembering that there's other emotions other than happy, sad, and angry. So as your children kind of learn, and depending on where they're at, they might be ready to learn all of these other emotions. And some may not be. Some may only, be ready to learn happy, sad, angry, and then you kind of expand on their vocabulary. But think about all the emotions that are out there, bored, brave, calm, scared is a good one, right? Embarrassed is a great one. Kids are always feeling embarrassed. So how do they describe that feeling of embarrassment? I mean, think about very young children feel embarrassed, right? So how are they able to articulate that? They don't know what that word is unless we explain it to them. So all of these words, being able to connect that the way we would show them, oh, you must be embarrassed because I saw you, turn your head in, whatever it is that they're displaying, So the resource that Molly shared in the chat, the challengingbehavior.org, has some of these visuals in there. If you're ever interested in, printing them out or using them, this came from that website. And so this is a great example of one of the things that they have. This is just a list of all the different look at all, just one list, right? So we talked about those, the pictures, but look at all these different things that we might expand upon. Guilty, relaxed, thoughtful, overwhelmed. These are a lot of feelings. And it's funny because some adults still struggle with these kinds of feelings. Like, how do you feel? If you said to, even my teenager, if I said, how does that make you feel? She might not be able to say, that made me feel relieved. Sometimes even, adults or teenagers can't just use these words to really describe what a feeling is. But if we really focus on the vocabulary of it, they're going to be able to explain things so much more. And that helps them, understand what they're going through.
And we talked about this a little bit before, but when we mention, you kind of want to see where your child's at, what they might understand, what they might not understand yet, and my husband, again, I feel like he should be in this training with us. If you're going to your child and saying, are you okay? And they're looking at you going, I'm fine. Okay, maybe they don't know maybe they're not sure what the word is, but obviously they're not fine. So that would be, they might be escalating a little at that point. So that might not be the time to teach what that word is, but you could say, in that escalation point, oh, well, fine is usually calm and happy. You look a little upset, or you look a little mad right now. Is that how you're feeling? Asking them, is that how you're feeling? And letting them have the freedom to say, yes, that is how I'm feeling, or no, because maybe it's something else. They know what mad is, and this is something else, where it might be frustrated, tense, stubborn, strong. They're kind of higher level words, but also if your child is saying, you know, I'm fine, with their brows furrowed and everything, that's your cue to say, ooh, you know what, maybe they're not sure what that word is. And it seems so trivial, but it's so powerful, just teaching them, and really not even teaching, labeling what it is, giving them the words so that they know what to say and they know what it is, what the feeling is, and then what to do after.
Yeah. So another one of my favorite things to talk about is validating feelings. So we do have to remember that it's important for your child to be able to have the feelings they're feeling. So if they're angry or sad, it's okay for them to be angry or sad. And it's our job to help them find ways to regulate that emotion. And so if you told me, so for example, how do we help them do that? So you told me you're sad. And do you want to look at pictures? Would you like to have a hug or a cry for a little bit? Would you like to call grandpa to help you feel better? So those are examples of what we might say to a child that said, you know, they're feeling sad, or that we might see them look sad. So we kind of want to help them move through the feeling and what they can do by offering these suggestions. The important thing is we definitely never want to say, oh, you're not sad, or oh, stop that, you're not that upset, or oh, stop, you're crying, it's not that bad. And I'll be honest, I used to do that, you know, and the reason I'm admitting this, and this is why it's my favorite slide, is because I'm by nature, and sometimes, you know, our personalities are our personalities, right? Sometimes we're born with a certain, you know, demeanor. And so sometimes for me, I'm sort of one of those easygoing people, like nothing, like don't worry about it kind of people. But my daughter's not. My daughter is a drama queen. And I don't mean that to be funny. If Molly wants to put her husband in this training, I think we could talk about my daughter. Everything is dramatic to her. And she's 17 now. And it's just, everything is, like, I'm not just tired. If I was tired, I would say, oh, I'm feeling tired. This is her. I'm tired. Like, it's, everything is an exaggeration, right? So it's, you know, everything. But when she was young, I used to say, oh, stop it. Like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Oh, you're not. Oh, you're not. I used to try to depress like whatever her feeling was, because I felt like it was so exaggerated. So I was always telling her to like calm it down, you know? And so I feel like, you know, as I learned more and as I was like studying this more, I thought, well, boy, I did that wrong, because I really should have telling her, I understand you feel really tired. How could we move through it? Right. This is the right way to respond. So, because I was really kind of invalidating her feelings. I was telling her she shouldn't have been feeling that way, but really, if they're feeling that way, they're feeling that way. That is their demeanor, right? If they're feeling sad, they're feeling sad. You know, if you gave them water and they wanted juice and that made them angry, then that made them angry. Like, you're supposed to feel your feelings, but it is for us to help them find ways to kind of, you know, alter those feelings and to find productive ways to deal with it or regulate it, right? So for this was the example. If you're sad, we might give them examples and say, well, what could you do? Do you want to look at pictures? You know, do you want to have a hug, or do you want to call grandpa? Like, something's going to make you feel better, right? Do you want to add to that, Mel?
No, you got it.
Here are some tools for helping kids regulate things. So I was talking about regulating emotions, right? So we're going to try to teach them so that they know that, you know, they want to kind of keep it cool. So a relaxometer is a visual that kind of shows kids how they feel when they're mad, might be in that red zone, or relaxed is in the blue zone. So one of the tools is to say, when you get to that red angry feeling, you can take 3 deep breaths, and then it would kind of take you back down. Of course, you have to teach those things and what that means, but this is just a visual to remind them how to use that strategy. You know, listening to music is something that's sometimes calming to people. Using little devices like those shakers, those are little bottles of water with like glitter. There's lots of different options of stuff like that, but that's just something that might be like calming. So when people get upset, sometimes, you know, kids like to look at those kinds of things, like a fidget or a bottle like that is just sometimes calming. We use them in our classrooms. And this other picture kind of gives us options like, you know, go for a walk, get a drink, just taking a break, drawing a picture, a swing sometimes, a puzzle, a book, a teddy bear, like all those things sometimes help us calm our bodies depending on what we like. So they're just options and ways to kind of start, pointing them out to kids to say, when you feel that way, what's going to help you? Here's some of these options.
Right. And also, your child might not know what calms them down yet, especially at their age. They might not know what it is that they could, so if my husband and I love him dearly, but if we get into an argument, what am I doing? I'm walking right upstairs, turning on the TV, getting comfortable, watching TV and calming myself down by myself. So that's what I do. That's my coping. But, a 3-4-year-old, I don't know if they know what to do. They might love to squeeze a teddy bear or get a drink. That'll calm them down. They might not know that. So trying these things out, looking around the house, seeing what possibly can be given as an option, if they're sad, if they're mad, happy, whatever it may be, trying to let them decide what it is that will calm them down, but also then keeping that in the back of your mind to say, oh, okay, right. So when they're really sad, they want to hug the teddy bear. When they're really mad, to get somewhat of a calm where I can talk to them, they love watching the lava lamp. I don't know if anyone has lava lamps anymore, but that's what the glitter bottle reminds me of. So like I said, giving them the answers, giving them the tools beforehand to try to say, all right, well, let's try this. Let's try hugging the teddy bear. Let's try going on the swing. Let's try walking up the steps and going down the steps, on our bottom. Something of the sort that we can try to, reattach them to whatever that feeling is, but also stepping back from that feeling. So if we're really, really upset, maybe going down the steps on our bottom snaps us out of it to the point where we could say, oh, you know what, that did make me upset, but there is something I can do that might make me feel better in that moment. So it is a lot of trial and error, but it's also, as our part, the adult, as the parent, we're also having to give them a lot of these options to try because they don't know what works for them yet. So we're trying it out with them almost.
So anything else on here?
Yeah, these are just more examples. So up in the upper right-hand corner, that is that little orange backpack. So that is the Backpack Connection series. That's what these sheets look like. And there are tons of them at thechallengingbehavior.org. So this one in particular is how to help your child recognize and understand anger. So this might be for the little girl or little guy that explodes. We have meltdowns. We don't know what it is, but we get real upset real quick. These are kind of little, tips and tricks to try to say, hey, this is what my child's really struggling with anger. What can I do? My child's struggling with biting. What can I do? So these one-pagers are absolutely fantastic. If you have Play-Doh, even if you have, color printer or just old pictures, if someone's smiling in it, you could also shape the Play-Doh. You can do like a mirror effect, this is me sad, and have your child make that sad face. This is me happy. This is me calm. So playing that game. Tucker Turtle takes time to think. Say that 3 times fast. That is also in the challenging behavior. And I see Tucker Turtle a lot out in preschools. A lot of organizations use Tucker Turtle. It's a story that it's Tucker himself, and it talks about what he does when he's upset. And there's a whole repertoire that goes with it that teaches the child what to do when they're upset. I think Tucker goes into his shell, takes a breath, comes out, so whatever he does, it's like a play per se, and it is a book, but it's valuable things, that your child might be able to then, next time that they're upset, they might do what Tucker does, or that could be your verbal reminder. Hey, what does Tucker do when we're upset? Oh, that's what Tucker does. Stop and go, my calm down choices, depending on, the level of your child, what they can comprehend, what they're understanding right now. Take it right down to pictures. That's okay. The upper left-hand corner, that's a picture of like just a chill out area, calm down area, if you were. A lot of preschools do have calm down areas or just a chill zone. And having one, even if they have one in their room, even if it's a corner where they have, all of their stuffed animals and a bean bag, maybe that's their chill zone or their calm down area. Maybe that's where they, just like Tucker, can go to calm down. So giving them those tools and then letting them kind of feel out what's around and what they can use.
Yeah, seeing those a lot in the elementary schools now too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so some other tools for breathing, just to kind of teach, these are great tools to teach students, to teach kids, so that they can learn breathing exercises. And they can do this once they know how to do it. They can do it at any time. They can do it in the car. They can do it at school. They can do it when they get frustrated. They can do it at any time. So the first one is really about just taking one deep breath, and it is smell the flower, blow the pinwheel. So just teaching them to smell the flower and blow out the pinwheel. This visual shows them how to do the deep in breath and deep out. And so that, just to point that out to them, can remind them how to take one deep breath will calm them down, not from a fiery standpoint, but it will calm your nervous system at least a little bit. So anybody who might be going up that hill, right? That hill where we were showing you on your way up, just to kind of say like, just take one deep breath and see if that kind of helps while you're on your way, when you're starting to feel that frustration. Another thing could just be the hand breathing. So you put your hand out and you just start breathe in, breathe out, in, out, and go very slow around all of your fingers. And this little visual kind of helps you do that. But if a child can do that when they're sitting, in class or in the car, and they take nice deep breaths in and out as they're going up on their fingers over their hand. And that's a great way because they don't need a visual. They have it right there. It's their hand, right? And so if they just remember to use this tool, they can kind of stop and start to breathe and start to think, and maybe that would help them calm down. Some other things are just, counting to 10, closing their eyes and slowly counting to 10 if they can. And then some yoga poses or yoga things would be great for breathing as well. So just showing them like, I am strong is that pose looks like a surfer, and holding it there and just letting them breathe while standing like that. Or the tree, I am kind, showing them the brave pose, which looks like a little skier. And again, having them stand and try to hold it like that and breathe in and out while they're doing that can be helpful. And it can definitely calm their nervous system while they're starting to feel frustration.
And a big thing, I'll go with the hand breathing. So I used to do that with my niece when she was younger. She had big emotions, but I spent every Wednesday and Thursday with her at night. And as we were, don't think of it as something, that's another thing I have to now do. It's just really being aware and more aware of it and taking the opportunities when we have them. So when her and I were sitting on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, kind of watching TV as she was, getting ready for bed, we would sit there and I just started tracing her hand, and she loved the feeling of it. And then, the next week I'd be like, take a breath in and out. So I was teaching her what the hand breathing was while she was calm. So she was at the bottom of that behavior. She wasn't escalated at all. And it was a good experience for her and me. It was rewarding for me. I got to spend time with her, but also we kind of had that bond and connection. And then she started using it, out in the preschools, and her mother's like, what are you doing? What's with the hand? So then I explained it to her, and then that kind of became, our thing. And even to now, she's, oh goodness, 16, 15, she's somewhere, but she doesn't use it as much. It's not cool anymore, but her and I always did that as she was younger. When she was in preschool, when she was in elementary school, she really took to that. And it really was, and I think because we had such a good experience while teaching it. You know, she wasn't upset. I wasn't expecting her to do anything crazy. It wasn't stressful. So those are the times that you really want to try to make those connections, but bringing in that calm down technique, bringing in that conversation about why they're sad or why they're upset. So yeah, that was my little 2 cents of the hand breathing.
No, you make an important point, because we did talk about the time, right? The time to do it. And I think it's important to point out that if a child's very upset, visibly upset, and you say to them, oh, go take a breath, like they're probably going to get more upset, right? So it is very important to know the timing of it. So teaching that before, and then kind of reminding them like, oh, maybe, do you want to use some of your breaths? Do you want to use that? So they already know how to use it. It isn't something we're throwing at them in the heat of the moment, because they could get more upset if you do that. So certainly that was a good point that you made there. And I know we were laughing at work the one day when somebody did tell us to take a breath, and we were like, that will set you right off. Like if you're upset, like a woman, and like the husband said, oh, take a breath, like he might get slapped. Like that's not something. Don't tell somebody to take a breath when they're upset. It has to be first, right? And the breathing is a great practice, but it is definitely something, right? You learn before, and then you use it as, you know, a choice, and you know that it's going to work. But starting to shout those things out in the middle could fire back at you.
Yeah.
Okay. The bottom line, right? We want to practice those things, which leads us right into that. So once they start to utilize those things, like Molly said, they're going to do it on their own. So seek opportunities to practice throughout the day and night. It doesn't have to be when they're upset. So just practice these strategies, whether it be the hand breathing or the counting to 10 with your eyes closed or whatever it is. Just do it often enough so that the child will naturally use it when they need it. Help them link the emotions to events. Describe what the emotion looked like we gave you those examples. It looks like you're angry because you're clenching your fist. It looks like you're surprised. I see your eyes got big. Just to make the connections of what that looks like. Then remind them to use the skill in new situations. So, hey, you know, I noticed that, you know, we practiced that breathing. You're doing really well. Maybe you could use it tomorrow when you start school for the first time, or when you go to the dance class for the first time. Maybe you can count to 10 in your head. Whatever it is that you're trying to get them, you know, to do, you can remind them that can be used in those situations. And then make a game or an activity while you're waiting in line. That's a great time to practice these skills, because we're always waiting. And what is the first thing we do for our children when we're waiting? We probably give them the iPhone, right, to play with. And I know that because I have a lot of nieces and nephews that are in preschool, and boy, do they want to play on the phone when we're waiting. And waiting is hard. So we give it to them because it keeps them quiet, and we don't want to, you know, have loud children running around when we're waiting in a doctor's office or wherever it is. So this is a great thing to do. Have them practice breathing while they're waiting, or different tools or whatever it is that you want to teach them. And so the bottom line too is that children with a strong emotional vocabulary, if they can learn these things and if they can learn those tools, they will tolerate frustration better. They will get into fewer fights. They will engage in less destructive behavior. They will be healthier. They will be less lonely, less impulsive, more focused, and have greater academic achievement. And those are definitely great things that we want to see. Molly, you want to take that one?
Right. So if you and your child in particular, if you're really struggling and you're thinking, oh, I don't know, I don't know, they're not able to regulate at all. You know, getting upset over the littlest things, but it's at a level that you're kind of questioning, oh, do I need to look somewhere else? Do I need kind of some other resources to kind of help with this? So these are the list of behavioral health agencies. They are everywhere: Lackawanna, Susquehanna, Luzerne. Just because the place is in, say, Wilkes-Barre, and you live in Lackawanna County, that's okay. They go across county lines. Bethlehem, there's a lot of places, even if it's just to talk to somebody to say, hey, I'm not sure if I need something more, or if we're kind of just going through this little, we'll call it a phase at that point. You know, but if you really truly think that you might need some more intense resources, all of these centers. We can actually, we'll probably be able to get the numbers, Liz. I'll let you know. We'll get the numbers to them, or the emails and our websites, and we'll add them on here before we send them to you. And then everyone has them if you guys need them.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can just link the document. And then there's also a link here. So one of the things we use in our classrooms, which is like a fantastic tool, is called a solution kit. And it goes along with this book called We Can Be Problem Solvers. And these are all materials that can be downloaded and printed from that challengingbehavior.org website. But the solution kit looks like this. It's pictures that are kind of like options that children can choose to do. And you get to choose which pictures to give them. Like if you don't want them to like use a timer, then you just don't use that picture. But if you're trying to teach them, like, what do you do when you get upset? Here are some options. You could wait and take turns. You know, you can say, please stop. You can ask for help. You can ask for a hug. You can use kind words. Like these are all the different things that maybe a child might say, like, I'm going to try one of these things because maybe then, you know, I can handle that. I can wait or whatever. I know what's coming. So you can print these out. You can teach them to the child, but we call them solution kits. So when the children knows that they're going to use this as the option, then while I'm, you know, I know that I can't have the pink teddy because my brother has it, this is what I'm going to do. And that's it. Did you want to add anything else to that, Mom?
No. If I know, I know Liz, she records this, so take it all in tonight. Give yourself, a date, maybe next week. Well, I know Christmas is coming, so make a goal maybe after the new year. Go to challengingbehaviors.org, look through some of these resources, because there are really, truly a lot that can help us as the adults, with those big behaviors and what we can do at home, also what they can do at school. It's really a powerful and amazing resource that's out there.
Yeah. Thank you.
Everybody.
Thank you, ladies.